Day weekend. Some of y'all, most of y'all probably not working. Some of y'all are, but yeah, we are a couple of weeks away from. This is, I believe, the PBC's third outing now with this deal with Prime, with Amazon. The first one was a very action-packed card that they had. That was the main event, featuring Tim Zhu and Sebastian Fundora. Seeing Fundora actually, win, defeat Tim Zhu, and the whole card itself was really good, but not necessarily a pay-per-view worthy card. Nevertheless, so we get the Canelo Alvarez and Jaime Munguia fight that I think they reported did like 500 some odd thousand pay-per-view buys, which, listen, in the modern day isn't bad at all, because it means Fire Stick City these days. It is what it is. So this is the third outing with the PBC on Prime, and I have to say that the PBC's flagship fighter will be competing in this card, and people are gonna look at Canelo Alvarez being the PBC's flagship fighter, but I feel like Canelo Alvarez, more than anything, is a fighter that they're leasing for the time being. And Canelo Alvarez has one fight left with this deal with the PBC, which will culminate, I believe, September. But beyond Canelo Alvarez, it is pretty clear that Gervonta Davis is right now the PBC's flagship fighter. And why do we say that? He's coming off. It was last year, over a year ago, doing the 1.2 million buys with Ryan Garcia, in which he knocked him out. Since then, he's been inactive due to outside the ring stuff. Obviously, he had a little hit and run incident in which he wasn't convicted of, but he was on some sort of house arrest. I mean, that's as far as I know. But he's been inactive, and look, it's pretty clear a lot of us have been wanting to see him in the ring with certain names, which hasn't happened yet. And last year, he made it known that he is on his own, so to speak. He's not under Mayweather Promotions, even though he's still an Al Haymon fighter, which has always been kind of this, like, I don't know, like, it's kind of one or the other. They're kind of hand in hand. So not a lot of people were paying attention to that notion. Like usually when a fighter leaves a promoter, or it's like big news. But in this kind of situation, it's like, okay, like, because he's still under the advisorship, I should say, or he's still under the same umbrella. So not much has been made about him leaving Mayweather Promotions, because the irony of it all too is the fact that at every single Gervonta Davis fight since he made this announcement that he's leaving Floyd, you see Leonard Ellerbe there too. So it's like, it's kind of a moot point. But what I do find interesting, and I don't know if any of y'all have peeped this, ever since him and Floyd kind of parted, well, again, you'll see Ellerbe there and you'll see Tank there, but you never see any dialogue. And I could maybe not just be there and don't see it for myself, but Ellerbe seems to be working with the PBC in some kind of fashion. He's this, I don't know what his title is at Mayweather Promotions. Whatever, like he's the head of Mayweather Promotions. Let's just give him give him that title. But beyond, like, you're not working with Gervonta's not under your promotion, so like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing at Gervonta Davis's fights, and or even speaking for it? It's just weird, kind of weird. But anyway, he returns June 15th to face Frank Martin, who originally was scheduled to fight Shakur Stevenson last November. We were like at the 11th hour waiting to see if this fight was going to materialize. It ended up not. Frank Martin bowed out. And then I predicted this though. I mean, I didn't put it on YouTube, but on the Facebook page, I told people, don't be surprised if Frank Martin ends up landing the Tank fight. And here we go. Okay. It just is what it is, man. I mean, I don't people could say, oh, he ducked Shakur and all this stuff, but like at the end of the day, if he can take the Shakur fight and now he's fighting fighting Tank, then it's like you can't really argue with him, you know? Like that's hard. That's hard to argue in the sense of if somebody had a choice. Most people are gonna take the Gervonta Davis fight, even if they think they're gonna lose, because that's just a bigger money fight, you know? So I understand, man. Like this whole ducking and stuff like that, like, you know, can people make claims? Sure, but it's a business at the end of the day. So for him to for Frank Martin to now have an opportunity to fight Tank as opposed to, like, you know, turn, you know, in relation to turning down the Shakur fight, then hey man, like it is what it is, you know. But for Tank, I think much of the microscope is on him, because at this stage, man, and mind me, I got the landscapers behind me, but I think he's the one that's on the microscope, because whether you like him or not, okay, and I like Tank, but I've been somebody that has been very vocal about us needing to see him against his contemporaries, okay? And who are his contemporaries? You know, we all know who they are, you know, like we don't have to sit here and pretend like these people don't exist. But in the immediate, I could say that I feel like we've already potentially missed fights with him and Teofimo Lopez, who was at 135. You know, there was a point where him and Lomachenko could have fought, Devin Haney. So there's these guys that have been floating around that have all been there that we have not seen him in the ring with. So here we have Frank Martin, who's the guy that we were feeling that was about to be at that stage. And Frank Martin's not a spring chicken either. Like, he's a little older. It's like, what, like 28 or so? Like, he kind of got late into the game as it concerns being in the mix of things. And Shakur would have been his first world title fight and would have been his biggest fight up to date, like leaps and bounds. So now he's taking the Tank fight, which is leaps and bounds from what he's fought. But for Tank, it's like you beg to ask the question, like, is this Tank's, it's subjective, like what's Tank's biggest fight right now? I mean, obviously monetarily it's the Ryan Garcia fight, but when we look from a competitive standpoint, I mean, is this his toughest fight to date? Frank Martin that at least on the surface has yet to be proven, you know? So it's interesting because the argument was made about Shakur. I remember reading these, you know, I read a lot. I don't comment a lot, but I read a lot of the comments in some of these videos and Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And people were giving Shakur shit for fighting Frank Martin, who some of these same people were terming, oh, he hasn't fought anybody. He's ducking this person. He's ducking Devin Haney. He turned down the Devin Haney fight to fight to fight Frank Martin and all this stuff. And I'm like, all right. But then you go over to the fact that Frank Martin's fighting Tank, and now all of a sudden Frank Martin is a big fight for Tank, and I'm like, I don't see the balance there, you know, considering Shakur is being told that like he's not a big enough fight for Tank, which again. So that all being said, not to drag it on, but I think on the surface, it's a good fight for Tank. I think Frank Martin could potentially make it a very interesting fight. Even though Frank Martin's not a big guy, he's bigger than Tank. You know, he's got a longer reach. He's taller. I would say just overall, he's a bigger fighter. But the thing with Tank, the thing that makes him must-see TV, and I say this with a lot of fighters, and you can even put Ryan Garcia into this equation, even with him getting busted for PEs, just to be fair. Anytime a fighter has an equalizer, they are must-see TV, because it gives you um it basically gives you the platform of like anything can happen here. And when you got somebody who's got a punch, and you got somebody who at times can be vulnerable, those are must-see TV fights, man. Those are must-see TV. Outside of you having a big fan base and things like that. And Tank has a big fan base, but I don't know if at a Canelo level yet. But when we talk about him having a fan base, and then also him having people that want to see him lose, that is a recipe for money, man. It's clear as day. So does Frank Martin have enough to upset the apple cart for Gervonta Davis's immediate future? I mean, on the surface, it's the best fight he's taken in some time, but there's a reason why Tank should be and is the favorite in this fight, okay? Experience takes you a long way, and I always talk about the big bright lights, and we've seen at times where certain fighters don't get amused by that, and there's some fighters that get very enamored by it. And Tank's been here a lot of times. He's been here several times. He knows all the stuff that he was doing at the press conference and everything. He's been here before. Frank Martin's chomping at it, but a lot of that is up here. So I guess we'll see how that materializes, you know, when the fight plays out. Both guys are going to be inactive. Tank over a year, Frank Martin close to a year. So there's going to be a lot of inactivity involved. I think you're gonna see two guys that are gonna be very patient early. I don't think they're gonna go at it right away. I think that's gonna probably unfold as the fight progresses. But you know, the question is, can Tank I don't want to say Tank, can Frank Martin withstand any of the shots that he's gonna take from Tank? And be it rounds 9 and 10, he's still there applying work, applying pressure. Frank Martin's not a guy that's going to sit there and try to really box with you for 12 rounds. He's a good boxer, but I think there's times where he kind of, you know, throws very wide shots, kind of leaves himself open. And especially when you're on the inside, that you can't do that with Tank, man. And that's the thing Tank's gotten away with a lot of times, is just he looks like he's easy to hit. He looks like, you know, he doesn't have good boxing acumen, but that is not the case, man. Tank is a very good fighter. And I think Tank potentially might be one of these guys that he will excel when he gets in there with somebody who's going to really push him to the limit. Is Frank Martin that guy? We're going to see. I think we're going to get a good fight. You know, I favor Tank, but I don't think Frank Martin's going to sit there and just like completely fold against Tank. And they've sparred together, you know, like they've had history together. And we saw, again, I already made the video about Ryan, you know, testing positive or whatever, but you know, you think about Ryan and Tank have saw each other like 5 times, right? And leading up into the fight, you know, the idea was that Haney was the more polished professional. And again, excluding everything with the PEDs and everything, that didn't really play out, you know. But again, I have to put that out there. But I get the sentiment about, you know, him testing positive. So, in any case, but and then let me get to before I wrap up real quick with Benavidez and Gvozdyk. I should have really made that the first topic, but look, the big talk has been about Benavidez and Canelo. Okay, I haven't made many videos about it only because I've been telling people for quite some time that I did not feel this fight was going to happen. I don't feel this fight's going to happen this year. I don't feel the fight's going to happen next year. I don't feel the fight's going to happen at all. Listen, Canelo Alvarez did not get to where he's at in his career by making business decisions that didn't play out in his way. He might have had a couple hiccups. I think the Bivol fight was a hiccup, but in most cases, Canelo has strategically placed himself in fights that made, at least on the surface, made the most sense to him. And when you look at somebody like David Benavidez, who, again, was like scrunching down to make 168, he's a big boy. He's got very good speed. He's got very good power at 168. He's an active guy. And again, he's ascending. This isn't a guy that was up here and he's starting to, and they're like, all right, let me get him here. Which I felt, no disrespect, but which I felt Canelo did to Triple G a bit. By the time Canelo fought Triple G's 35 years old. And then when he fought him the second time, he was what, 37? So I think with Benavidez, though, you got a 26, 27-year-old dude who's not getting any smaller, is not getting worse as a fighter, and he's only getting more experienced. So if you're Canelo Alvarez, man, all things considered, like, is that a fight you really want to take? And look, I've been on record saying, like, I feel Canelo doesn't want to fight him, but it's his choice. He's earned the right to, like, decide who he wants to fight out, because other guys historically have done the same thing, and it's like, if we bash him, we gotta bash everybody else. And I've been critical of Canelo, okay? When he tested positive for PEDs, I said, don't throw that shit under the rug. Don't sweep it under the rug. And, you know, people conveniently have done that. And I'm like, hey, all right. But just to be fair, like, Canelo is going in the Hall of Fame with or without Benavidez. Period. So just people got to remember that. And for Canelo, I don't think he wants to give somebody like Benavidez that kind of out, or to say, hey, well, look, here's the opportunity. As opposed to, which, you know, initially he was saying he didn't want to fight Crawford, but I'm telling y'all, money talks, okay? And it's been pretty clear that the powers that be are wanting to make Canelo Crawford more than they want to make Canelo Benavidez. I can't be the only one who sees this, okay? And I think with Benavidez, he's doing the right thing. He can't sit and wait around for Canelo. And I think him going to fight Gvozdyk, who's, again, a former light heavyweight champion, who did take some time off. He's gotten 3 wins, like, back to back to back. It's a good fight for Benavidez at 175 to see what he's going to be at 175. Because if he gets past that, even without a Canelo fight, he's still looking at the Bivol or Better Be, like, in the, like, sooner than later. And I tell people all the time with these fighters, don't be sitting around wasting your career chasing fighters. Fight your fights. They're there. Don't let one guy that you're waiting 3-4 years to fight be the end-all be-all of your career. And I think Benavidez has finally, and look, there's probably people around kind of telling them that, like, look, this dude's not coming knocking at your door. You might as well be the guy knocking on somebody else's door in fights that are probably will be a little easier to make than fighting a dude who, listen, is at the end of his career. And if he's going to have a choice to fight you or somebody like Terrence Crawford, again, man, I've watched the sport many years, and you kind of could see where the business goes and what makes the most sense for a fighter where Canelo's at. And Benavidez is just not that guy. Because in layman's terms, David Benavidez to Canelo would simply be, and this is, I know how he's looking at it, it would simply be a title defense. A highly profitable one, but it's not something that Canelo looks at and says, damn, you know what? I could put that trophy right up here. But with Terrence Crawford, and again, I'm saying this in respects to him not even fighting 154 yet. But if he fights and he wins against, I can't even think of the guy he's fighting, the guy who won the WBA belt. Oh, which, mind you, might also be for the WBO belt too. That's another story. But if Crawford gets past that, Canelo can easily say, well, look, this guy is daring to be great, moving up. He's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, depending where you have Usyk and Inoue. But all that being said, that is a fight that he'll make a lot of money in, that he has less of a it's the path of least resistance on paper. With Benavidez, he doesn't have that. That's a difficult fight for Canelo at this stage of his career, who isn't moving, is very stationary, is just taking shots like this, no head movement, no movement at all, and you're gonna rely on you just landing 1 or 2 counter shots to finish off Benavidez. That's just what I needed to see in that Munguia fight is all I needed to confirm for myself where I've been telling people where Canelo is and where I feel he's just at. Still a damn good fighter, but styles make fights, and Benavidez' style is just not, it's not cut out for where Canelo is right now. Where with Crawford, he would still have an advantage against Crawford. So in any case, not to get off on topic, I'm running out of time. But Benavidez and Gvozdyk, I think, is a good measuring stick for Benavidez at 175. I think he's going to be stronger. I think he's still going to have the speed. I still think he's going to have everything intact. And he's not having to drop to 168. Which, again, signals even more that this Canelo fight is not happening, because there's no way he's going to go up to 175 and then suck back down to 68 unless Canelo says, oh, I'll fight you now, and then Benavidez gets suckered into a fight with Canelo, cutting crazy weight now, That's what I don't think is going to happen. I think Canelo in September, well, clearly it's not going to be September, but when you look at what's available with the PBC, and when you look at the difficulty they had just securing the guarantee just to fight Jaime Munguia, that kind of leads you to believe where his next, what level of fight he's going to get next. And it's not a Benavidez fight. And Jermall Charlo clearly is in no condition to fight. So when you look at everything, right? When you look at everything, Canelo may potentially be fighting yet another matchroom fighter. Well, in this case, it'd be a matchroom fighter, but PBC are probably going to have to do business with the zone again, man, because Edgar Berlanga is the name that is just at the forefront at this point. As crazy as that sounds, he's the person on the forefront. Unless the IBF is going to stick it to Canelo to fight, they're mandatory. But if you're Canelo, do you even care about having the Undisputed anymore, So, any case, a lot to unwrap, but that is June 15th. Gervonta Davis, Frank Martin, who do you got in that? And then David Benavidez, Alexander Gvozdyk, doubleheader. That'll be at the MGM Grand, June 15th. I'm going to be, I guess I'll tell y'all, man, a lot of y'all know I've been in South Florida all these years. I'm officially getting out of here. June 15th. I'm actually going to be in my new residence in North Carolina that day. So I'll be able to catch the fight that night. The internet will be up. Everything will be great. So that is lots shaking, man. Lots going on. But that's June 15th. Gervonta Davis, Frank Martin, and Benavidez and Gvozdyk. Looking forward to it. But let me know in the comment section, who do you got winning both of those fights? And can you see Benavidez having a run at 175? Because now things are going to get really interesting. Very interesting. And I'll tell you who's going to be moving up pretty soon too is David Morrell. He'll be moving up to 175 as well. Which is, whoo, man, them two they're destined to fight. Morrell and Benavidez. They are both destined to fight. And I think at some point in time it's gonna happen at 175. So, any case, 25-minute video, but hey, man, that's so I'm here for, man. I gotta chop it up with y'all. So let me know in the comments who you got June 15th winning the fights, and then I'll be back. Peace.